Cool. Here comes everyone. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Just give a second for you guys to all trickle in. You are in the roundtable discussion titled Kickass Consultations. So I'm excited for this to hear from some great people we have on this roundtable. We have Josh Rosenstein with Edible Eden. We have Keith with Bountiful Backyards and Ryan with Custom Foodscaping. So the way this will work is that we'll just start these guys off with some general questions to get us started. But right from the beginning, all of you guys watching can go ahead and drop questions you have for these guys related to consultations, preferably, in the chat. And we'll, the lovely assistant Jessica will feed those to me and we'll get your questions answered. Please keep your cameras on mute, which you probably have got that down by now. But we love to see your faces. So if you want to stay on video, that is great. So we're going to get started. I'm going to nominate Keith to go first. If Keith, you just want to, say just a bit about who you are and where you come from, and then pass it on. We'll get intros from all of you guys.
All right, thanks for having me here. I can't see you all, but thanks for being here. My name's Keith, and I am a co-founder of Bountiful Backyards. We've been primarily edible landscaping business since 2007. We've done about 2,500 installations, lots of community projects. We primarily focus on permaculture, stormwater management, and a lot of rain gardens, and we do some market gardening as well. Thanks.
Ryan, why don't you go?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Ryan Albritton from Custom Foodscaping here in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been with the company for going into my 6th year now. One of the 3 original people after Matt founded the company. So I've done a lot of consultations, a lot of designs, install management, and that kind of stuff. So kind of wear a bunch of hats here.
Awesome. And I'm Josh with Edible Eden Baltimore Foodscapes here in Baltimore, Maryland. We've been around for about 10 years. I wish I had that handy dandy number about how many installs we'd done. But I wanted to jump off into the conversation by just sharing how we do consults, which is we charge between $250 and say $400 or $500, depending on how far they want us to drive. It's primarily been me. Mostly the job that I've built for myself at Edible Eden is doing those consults and submitting the proposals. And yeah. And it's generally about an hour and a half. And we return $100 if they hire us for the install. Awesome. So I'll stop there to see what kind of questions people have.
Yeah, no, I think that was actually a really smart way to start. We're talking about consultations. What do we even mean when we say that? So why don't you go ahead, Ryan, can you do the same thing and just kind of say, what does a consultation look like with Custom Foodscaping? What does it cost? What do they get? And then we'll do it after that.
Yeah, we start at $200. We have a handy little spreadsheet with basically all the zip codes within a 100-mile radius of where we're located in St. Louis. So we type in the zip code, it gives us a number. I don't remember what the cutoff is, but basically it's like a 30-minute drive. Beyond that, it goes up from $200. And that generally includes up to 2 hours on site with the client. And then it's kind of a open conversation up to the person who's doing the consultation to decide what is included with that. Occasionally, I will give very simple sketch designs that are included in that cost, but generally anything else is billed separately.
Great, thanks.
And I didn't get I didn't include that last thing. The only deliverable we provide for our consults is the custom proposal, which forgive me, but I'm still typing up and sending as a PDF.
Yeah. What about you, Keith? What do they look like? What does a consultation look like for you guys?
So right from the start, we had an interesting experience our first year back in 2007 where we were not charging for consultations. And what we found is that we had a lot of interested like permaculture people and people that wanted to kind of show us their gardens or whatever. And so we built in just $100 fee. We've kept it there. We haven't gone up from that. I think it's difficult if you bring a carpenter in or a plumber. They're not going to generally charge you a consultation fee. And we would like to be thought of more as plumbers and carpenters than, designers or, landscape architecture. Like I think we really get to the meat of things a lot faster by just sort of meeting people where they're at. We'll return that $100 too if they move ahead with anything. And for us, consultation is always a discussion about design as well. We really we do designs, we do scale-based maps, everything like that. Always have, but we really try to hone in on what the person is wanting to do in the short term, and kind of go from there, build off of there. If a design is needed later down the line, I don't even really like calling them designs anymore. I like to call them implementation plans. I think there's just a lot of people out there that are just designing. At least in our area, it can be problematic. A few of those have been handed off to us, and it's like, I can draw anything on paper. I can draw a castle. I can draw Rapunzel letting her hair down. I can draw a jungle. But to actually put it in can be another thing altogether. So we really try to keep it simple, basically, with our consultations.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. Okay, I've got some starter questions. We're just getting going. So, you touched on this, Keith, when you said, you did add the $100 fee to kind of weed out maybe the people who are just, not the right fit for your time. Do you guys have any other red flags that you watch for, things to be wary of when you're deciding whether to work with a client or not, that you can kind of pick up on during that consultation? Does that come up very often? If it does, what are you looking for?
Well, I did have one experience where I got into an argument with the person on the consultation, and that was a big red flag.
Wow.
We should have, and I'm not an argumentative person, we actually ended up doing that job, and it turned out to be a disaster. One of the only people that ever tried to not pay us. So I think it's really it's a vibe thing, but it's also just about trying to get down to the heart of the matter, get down to the, again, keeping it simple, talking about budget, talking about, what their goals are, what the vision is, and then just kind of paring it down and talking about just some loose pricing, and I try not to get too hard and fast, but I think that a lot of it is intuition. And then also just, we provide people with some information when we're done. We provide them with basically like a 2-page summary of, restating their goals, and then some recommendations for just basically the stuff that we talked about. So I think that people can really get on, either they're going to get on the same page at that point or they're not. I think that some people are definitely, going to write you off or not take you seriously. And that's just for me, that's more of an intuition thing. and then the other steps down the line, how quickly they're going to respond, things like that, I think can lay the path forward.
What about you guys? Did you have a time where, like, literally in the consultation you said, it just sounds like we're not going to be a good fit?
Well, I wanted to say that I'm curious about the different. I think using the term consultation is interesting because just the three of us, I think, have probably pretty different things that we think should be included or what our goal is, right? So my agenda and the reason, and I tell people this, the reason I charge to cover my time to come and do the consult is because it makes it, or at least I can tell them that I'm less attached to whether they hire me to do the work. My goal is to spend that time educating, inspiring, and connecting to that person. So in almost all of the scenarios, I will really go with them and I'll say, okay, let's look at this. Like, look at that tree. What kind of disease does it have? Where's the branch going to fall? Where's our sunny spot? Where can we put the garden? What kind of fruit trees are going to grow here? Where's the water standing? Like, where do you access this from? And then I get into them, right? I want to know who does the cooking and who's home during the day and how many kids do you have? And is there a dog, right? I want to basically do everything because my goal at the end of that consult is for them to be, when they read my proposal, I want them to just be like, they get so excited at this thing, right? They're like, oh my God, I never thought about that. And oh, we could do that here. And I didn't know that would grow here, right? Like I want to engage, educate, and inspire them. And then if they decide to go build their own garden, I still got my time paid for, right? So I can, if I get that they're really looking to just get some information and do it themselves, I'll jump right in there and be like, great, you're paying for my time. I want to make it as useful to you as possible. How can I empower you? But the answer to the question you said, and I'm not sure if it's totally fair, but because I do that, and because I'm showing up and I'm trying to engage with them, and I'm trying to, show them my 28 years of expertise with this stuff, and really make sure that they know I know what I'm talking about so that we can get past that and get into what we're going to do. 9 times out of 10, they're like, it's great. And we jive and we connect and we walk around and they're like, oh, I learned so much. This was so inspiring. But every 8 to 10 people, I get these customers that are paying this money to get me out to their yard, and then they just won't let me talk, right? They'll just talk over me. Like, I'll be like, oh, we could do a blah, blah, and they'll be like, yeah, my father had one of those and it didn't work at all. And it's like, okay, cool, great. That's what when they can't even listen to me, or when I'm not able to develop any sort of like rapport with them, that's my first red flag.
Yeah.
I'll second a few things here. Like I said, we start at $200 and go up from there. I'm just saying this, like Keith, we do refund or credit back the consultation fee if we go on to an install.
All of it.
All of it, but I mean, we have a high minimum install, so yeah. But if they don't do that, they don't get that money back. And it's definitely, it creates a value proposition for them. So we know they're serious and they're not just looking for landscaping work. The other thing I would say is we've gotten much better at weeding out people before we even book a consultation. So there's a 2-step process where they fill out a few questions on our website to even submit the inquiry, what they're interested in. So we have a vague idea if they're interested in design or install work, or just want to ask us questions and have a consultation.
Right.
And then after we contact them, after they know how much it's going to cost, then we send them a Google form that they fill out, and we've made it a little bit shorter than it used to be, but we encourage people to spend some time on it and really think about things. So we know going into it, what their objectives are, how much land they have, who's home, who's not home, how often they travel, these kind of questions. So we don't have to really waste time in the consultation on that kind of stuff. We already have a pretty good idea. And then I will say a lot of it is intuition, yes, and just doing a bunch of consults. I've had to have that awkward conversation only a couple times where I'm at the consultation and I'm like, this person does not want what we offer. Like and I'll just be honest, like, you need you are looking for a native scape or you are looking for a conventional landscape, that's not what we offer. And in that case, I will not charge them for the consultation. I'll just walk away. So there's no awkwardness with like, why am I paying for something that I'm not getting anything out of? And then I'd say the number one red flag for me when I'm like, I'm not excited about this client at all, is if they don't know what they want at all. If they're just like, hey, I saw the word foodscaping and I'm excited about that, and I have no idea what that means. Occasionally you'll be able to like bring them up quickly during consultation to understanding what that means. But more often I've found that it's just like this person is going to be a nightmare from day one. Slow, hit the slow button on this one and see if they see how that happens, how it unfolds.
Right. That's funny.
Can I ask a question, Melissa, for either my co-panelists or the other people? We're currently using Calendly to allow customers to schedule the consults right through the website, but we don't have a system smart enough to figure out what they should pay. So again, at every consult, I wrap it up and I'm like, okay, do you want to pay by check or Venmo, right? Like I'm having to collect money at the time of, and I think it would make so much sense to have them prepay before I drive out wherever it is. Does anyone do prepaying when you schedule the consult? And if so, how are you taking the payment?
We just in the last 6 months probably kind of figured out this problem because we were having the same like awkwardness of like accepting Venmo or check or sending an invoice from QuickBooks. And what we started doing, we used ClickUp for our kind of CRM client tracking. And as soon as we move somebody into consultation scheduled, it alerts the person going on the consult and also Jessica on this call. And one of us makes sure that an invoice is sent before the consult. So we're trying to collect we just send it directly from QuickBooks. And then if they say, I'd rather pay by check, then we're like, okay, have it ready. So that has worked, I think, 99% of the time since we started doing it.
Cool.
All right, this is going to be kind of like a quickish question. How many of you either collect from the client ahead of time what they think their budget is, or ask them straight out on the spot, what's your budget?
Man, that's such a relevant question. I'm curious what everyone does. I ease into it once I've started educating them about all the different things, and I'm zeroing in on the things that they're most interested in, and they're asking questions about it and we're engaging. Then I will often say, like, first of all, if they ask me, then I'll give them a number or two for a specific element. But I will often say to them, like, you can, like, I'm pitching you, I'm probably going to pitch you a $40,000 project if we were to like do all the things. But, I'm not asking you to do all the things right now. What would be a reasonable budget for you for a stage one or something? And so that I can really get to that stage one. And I have to tell you, almost never do they answer. They almost always sidestep that question.
Wow.
Me.
All right, cool. Let's keep talking about this. You're nodding, Ryan. What do you guys do?
Similar, I suppose. Well, for one, I don't always ask, and usually if I don't ask, I kind of regret not asking. And this is for people who are clearly wanting an install, right? So if they just want to design, I'll usually quote them a design price when I'm there because I know if I'm going to spend 6 hours on a design or 10 hours or whatever, I know what level of design they want just from the consultation. Install wise, by the end of the consultation, I also have a pretty good idea of what ballpark we're going to be in. So then I'll ask them directly, like, how much are you looking to spend on this? And if they are completely out of line with what I'm thinking in my head, I'll be like, all right, we have to change some expectations here. And so we'll have that conversation. But if they're close to what I'm thinking already, or sometimes they're way over what I'm thinking already, and I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Mhm.
So usually it works out much better to have that conversation in person because the worst case scenario is going back and over designing something, and then them giving them a proposal for an install that they are just like
Never
sticker
gonna get
shock, and then you never hear from them again. So
What do you do, Keith?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to what both of these guys are saying. I think over the last 7 or 8 years, where I've really moved to is almost everyone. We get about 45 inches of rain here, and we have a lot of stormwater issues. And so I try to start, if it makes sense, everyone with the rain garden and talk about, even though we don't use hardly any irrigation at all, because most of what we're doing is perennial. The rain garden, the first sort of, I think there's 3 key value propositions that people see from it. One is like protecting the foundation of the home. Secondly, erosion. You can really change the whole characteristics of your entire yard by putting a rain garden in. And third, passive irrigation. This being a source of passive irrigation. And so people really seem to grab onto that, and that's something that's more or less got a pretty fixed cost, a rain garden. And so if I can get them to do that and think about that and take that seriously, that to me, that generally means they're going to take everything else seriously. As far as asking about budget, I have no qualms about doing that. I think most people, it's sort of a cutesy game that they play. Oh, I don't know, $500. But I mean, most people understand, if you're going to bring a carpenter or a plumber out again, to bring that analogy in again, it's going to cost some money. I like to say to people, prices are different everywhere, but to redo a bathroom or a kitchen, it's like between like 30 and 50 grand. So what's wrong with spending 10 or 15 on a landscape that's going to, improve your health and your yard and protect the foundation of your home, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's always bothered me. I always want to say that to people. Anyone who has remodeled a bathroom knows that 16 grand is like the minimum you're going to spend, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how are you telling me when I'm pitching you 7 grand or 10 grand for like a complete an outdoor room from nothing? It pisses me off. Why can't?
It's
Yeah.
okay, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, you can poop out there too.
Yeah. I think my kids are maybe doing that in the woods behind my house, but I'm not sure. So I'll just pipe in just for a second here. It was at, I think, one of the last conferences, either last year or the year before, that somebody said, like, made the encouragement to just ask the budget. And I've been doing that ever since. And like you, Keith, is like, no qualms. I'll bring it up when it feels natural in the conversation, but I find that the earlier the better, because then I say, what's your budget? You don't have to know that, because sometimes we're like, I have no idea how much this costs. I'm like, you don't have to know. It's not a promise to pay that much, but this will help me lead you in the right direction to tell you what can we do with what you have in mind here.
Yeah.
So that I'm not wasting my time or wasting their time, Yeah, Keith.
Just one quick thing. I've also been put in the position, if you don't talk about budget, you're going to get put in the position, well, how much does it cost? And then you're going to be put on the spot, and you maybe give a number that you walk away from later and you're like, shit, because they remember that number no matter what diligence you've done in the estimating. They're going to remember that 4,000 to 6,000 when it was really like 9,000 to 11,000 or whatever.
Yep, I really hesitate to say anything on the spot because I need to like go back and crunch the number.
Well, right, ditto. But what I've started doing is just giving them a parse for a specific item that I know. Right, I know that one of our 4x8 raised beds is going to be $2,250. So, that can help flag that. That immediately takes care of the like, oh, I'm going to spend $350, right? Like,
right, they can weed themselves out. That's great. All right, what else do we have? Okay. All right. So you guys touched on this when you told us what's included in your consultation. So if you can just add to that, we have a question here based on, there was a conversation at the Veterans Roundtable yesterday about the process from consult to bidding, design, install. or sorry, to bidding the design and install packages. So this person says, I'm just trying to understand this. So I'd love to hear each of you describe the process as succinctly as you can, probably because it could be very detailed, but kind of like what's that process, the steps of bringing the client in, having the consultation, doing the bidding, you know, when do they know what they're going to pay, maybe when they pay it.
I can do that pretty quick. And you
Or
guys-
can I just, Melissa, clarify if that was my question? Because now we've gone around and around. I think the
Yeah.
key thing I'm trying to understand is like, if after the consult, the deliverable is a proposal,
Mhm.
and you're pairing the design install, like they're signing up for a design build, is that proposal giving them the install cost? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How would you know that when you're just at step
Right.
one?
And the truth is that you can't definitively know it, but you can develop enough understanding of your products to be able to ballpark. So what I'll often do, like I just did yesterday, I did a food forest bid, and it's a from the ground. We don't know, right? But I know it's 60 feet by 100 feet, right? So I put there that I could design the food forest element for $1,000. That's the only element that has a hard number associated it. But then I put under there, because I knew he was going to ask me, but a ballpark install cost for an orchard of this size, assuming 15 fruit trees, 30 shrubs, and 90 1-gallon herbaceous perennials, all mulched and installed, would be around $10,000, right? So that he doesn't decide, like, I don't want him to hire me to do the install, design, and then having spent that $1,000 be like, well, I'm never going to spend $10,000 on fruit trees, right? It's like, let's save us all some time, but I definitely don't want to fall into the pitfall of being like, yeah, I'll just do the design first, and I'm sure I could do the install for $1,000, and then find out that actually the design is showing a $10,000 installation, right?
And then is that just, you're clear somehow in your language that that's an estimate, that's not a final bid for the install?
Definitely.
Okay.
Exactly. At this particular one, I said, first of all, I put it in italics. Second of all, I used the word approximate. And third of all, I spelled out in there, assuming this number of plants, all things being equal, that's what it would be.
Do either of you, so with the clarification of that question, do either Keith or Ryan have something to add to that about how you sort out how to make that proposal when you haven't even done the design yet?
Yeah. For me, or for custom foodscaping generally, we all kind of do this. It's pretty easy. And the question is whether the person is looking for a pretty design, basically. If they're not looking for a pretty design, and we, based on the consultation, know that they want an install proposal right away. So these are specific questions we ask at the end, like, what are you, or what are you looking for? If they want an install proposal and they don't care what their design looks like, we will often just go straight to the install proposal, do the design for our own purposes and to communicate what we're installing, and then just kind of roll in a design fee to the install proposal. They never see that. It's just part of it.
I remember actually talking with Matt in like a coaching call a year or two ago, trying to understand your guys' process, and why that one didn't make sense to me is because I do so many landscapes. So I think that works really good if you're saying, oops, here's like a garden built that is easy to kind of like throw together, that and like a berry bramble. But when you have maybe like, and actually you guys managed to do it somehow. Actually, I don't know how.
We do more
But, like,
landscapes than
or
at this point.
there's so much unknown before me personally to answer your question, Anna, like so much unknown that I can't give that final cost until a design is done. But I do.
Well, we do a design, but we give them the design and the install proposal. So we do a design and then we make an install proposal based on that design, and we give them those things at the same time.
But for you to clarify, Ryan, that would not be one of those situations where that design is going to take you 6 to 10 hours. That's a design where you can put it together quicker than that.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 1 to 2 hour design probably.
Yeah,
I call them concept
there's
designs.
different kinds of projects. Yeah.
Makes
sense. I'll do another plug for the free Foodscaper seminar that was put on last fall on pricing out proposals. So that's really handy. I think I've mentioned it the third time now. A few different people went through, I was one of them, shared our process for like how we build the proposal. So everybody does a little different, and that really helps to sort out kind of the order of operations and how you figure out costs and how you communicate that. So cool. Did you have anything to add to that, Keith?
Oh, let's keep rolling.
All right, let's keep rolling. Great. All right. All right, here's a fun one. So, what do you bring to your consultation that, don't tell me you bring like a measuring tape or whatever, we know that, but like, anything kind of next level, like any technology, or kind of like a hack that you use to collect information or something that you use to communicate with the client more clearly, to provide visuals. I don't know, just like kind of what's in your bag when you go to a consultation. That's your favorite. I guess you can tell me a tape measure. What do you bring? You know, like that you find is helpful.
2 tape measures, one short one and one long one.
Yep.
A line level for sure to measure elevations. Sunseeker or Sun Surveyor apps on your phone, very important.
Yeah, what's the official name of that app, and can we write it in the
Either, there's a bunch of them. I use Sun Surveyor.
Sun Surveyor. Okay, yeah.
You have to buy the paid version to get the full. Yeah.
Can you tell people real quick what that app does?
Oh, sure. It's just it's an augmented reality, so you can hold your camera up to the sky and it shows you the sun path for any date of the year, so you can really quickly see, like in St. Louis in zone 6B, we're primarily concerned with what's between the equinox lines. So that told you really quick if a spot has 4 hours of sun or 10 hours of sun or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool. What else do you guys bring that hasn't been mentioned yet?
I'm inspired. I mean, I think that I wouldn't put myself as an example in this case. I generally tend to bring nothing. I generally tend to do all of my, except for a notebook and a little handy dandy carrying case that makes me look professional. It's important to me to wear an Edible Eden shirt or hat, right?
Wait, so is the carrying case empty, Josh?
No, it's got my notebook in it.
Oh, it's got your notebook in it. Okay.
Yeah, and pens.
I thought it was just for looks.
No. Pens, notebook, compass, right?
Okay.
And I do think after this, Verd actually mentioned a thing that you can buy for $250 or something. I forget, I wrote it down, but it's like a sun calibration thing that shows you exactly how much sun that plant is going to get. So I'll probably get one of those because I'm often using my compass and then trying to guesstimate like how exactly what time it'll come over that house or over that tree in any given month. But yeah, I use my hands and feet for measuring, right? I use either my 3-yard stride or my 1 foot foot. And I do think it probably would make it look more professional if you rock up with your Rolly measurer and your measuring tapes. And Keith, I love your idea of a slope measure. I want to flag this for small companies that are looking to scale. One of the real pain points that I experienced, and as I was going through that, is that I would go to the customer and I would like spin the vision and create the proposal and sell them on the proposal, and then now 4 weeks later or whatever it is, I'm telling my team I'm bringing my builder out there to look at it, and they're like, "Fuck you." They're like, "This is ridiculous. What do you mean? Like, you didn't take into account how many levels of excavation we're gonna have to do to get it level, or you didn't take into account, that you can't bring the whatever things that I somehow missed about logistics in the consult, which then made it life harder for the install team and really lowered morale. So I really think you could skip that and really put in your due diligence to either through tech or through something that these guys know, deliver to the people that are going to be installing the stuff everything they need to know to not. Yeah. Right. And we tried for times. I would say, great, well, you come with me, but then I'm taking my builder away from his work for a job that 50% isn't going to turn into a job, and maybe it's a 3-hour thing, and so that never felt realistic. But on the other hand, we never invested in a tech that would bring everything to his finger points. So I'm just curious how other people have managed that disconnect between consult and install.
I'm gonna say that a great place to look would be if you guys weren't able to catch the presentation, one by Gabriel on leading the efficient install day. He touches on how he manages collecting that data. I think it might have come up in a question. So if there's some of that in that presentation, and then also it was part of the veteran roundtable, but some of Brandy's comments about how they do their process, which has to do with meeting with the client kind of on different levels along the way. And at some point, a team does go out there and do a thorough site assessment. So if anybody missed those are great conversations to go back on. I'm going to go to the next question.
Can I just mention one thing?
Please.
So when we started, we got a solar pathfinder. We were living with a solar installer, and it's a $250 or so analog. What solar installers use to measure the sunlight in any spot, and it comes with a case, and it comes with some pencils and stuff, and so you can look really sciencey if you whip it out. And for me, I don't really look that sciencey, so it helps me, and it helps legitimate, and it's $250 worth, well worth it. So that's it. Thanks.
The phone apps are $10. Just saying.
Yep. But they don't look as sciencey, although the people do like seeing that it's an app that they can get to.
Everybody's like, "Ooh, what is that?"
Yeah, I know, right? The tool. I've shown clients the Sun app, and they're like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, I do like a good analog tool. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, good analog tool. All right. So how do you? Okay, so this touches back. This is a question from Danielle. It's a good one. It touches back on what came up earlier. And that is, his question is, how do you communicate the value of your consultation service in an industry, landscaping, where free estimates are the norm? Do you feel like you need to sell that, or is it as a non-issue? If you do need to sell it, how do you communicate that?
Can I follow up on that real quick? Because the conversation has evolved, and I think part of what in talking about like budget and trying to get budget from people, getting a sense of whether do you advertise ballpark costs or such that, like, I think there's a subset of people that they see that a consultation is $200 and there's an expectation of like, oh, okay, this is a real deal, and I'm not going to expect bargain bin prices. But what are ways that you signal what the value is to the customer?
Mm-hmm. You mean for the consultation, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, we've pretty much kept our process the same through the last 17 years. And the thing that people are paying for, I think, which is explained when they book the consultation, is like, hey, this is about our time. And we actually have, we just changed our website. We actually have the consultation outline on there that they can download as a PDF, what you can expect in the consultation, how much it costs, $100, what you get out of it. And the average Joe landscaper is not charging $100 to go see the yard, but there's all kinds of hidden costs. So I think by us being transparent and upfront about costs, it really opens up the possibility for a better relationship. People, if you haven't noticed, are very suspicious of contractors. There's like this thing in American culture, people getting ripped off or whatever. 60 minutes expose, stuff. So we've always tried to be really transparent, and we took another step towards that when we changed the website to, on the frequently asked questions, it actually will lay out, it's short, but it lays out, hey, this is what the average job costs and what you could expect to get. Very, very minimal, but I think for us, being direct and transparent has always served us pretty well.
Yeah, does that sound similar for both of you that at least somewhere on the website or when they sign up that there's an outline of here's what you can expect in the consultation, here's what you get?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's pretty good when you've got their time for an hour and or however long, and you're going to get this kind of like some feedback on your site, and you're going to get a proposal, and yeah. Similar question from Rosina. I'm wondering how you market your consultations when traditional landscapers often offer free consults. So I don't know if there's anything to add here or not. I kind of just saw that pop up as the next one. So
Well,
do you
yeah.
do anything to market the consultations? Do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I just want to say two things. First of all, remember earlier we were talking about what's a good indicator that a customer is not the right customer. If they balk at paying a $200 or $250 consult fee, that probably tells me what I need to know. And yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah. No need to sell yourself because if they don't want it, yeah, you're attracting the right client.
I also, the one thing that's come up for me, and I'm not sure this is a good thing to do, but when I'm talking to people that I can identify don't have a ton of money to spend on this, right? I'll often say to them as part of the consult, like, now look, you could probably find a neighborhood kid for 15 bucks an hour to clear this area. Where I would really spend your dollars with us is in bringing in this like really great top quality soil mix and all the organic nutrients, or in planting the perennials, because that's got to be done a certain way. So I give them, like, I try and highlight that I and my team we're specialists, and
Yeah.
we're priced accordingly, and that there are ways to save money around that, which we're happy to support.
Yes. Yeah. That's the difference. You're specialist for sure. Okay, I like this question. How much time do you spend on the follow-up report? This is from Mike. So Mike, tell me if I'm not asking this right, but I think he's referring to, like that whatever comes, whatever they get with that consultation. So it might be like that follow-up proposal, or he called it a follow-up report. He says if he's found that it eats up so much time and he's not sure how to go about delegating that task. This is a pain point for me too. How much time does it take you to send that thing that comes after the consult?
I just wanted to jump on that because it raises a question that's a huge pain point for me that I've been working on trying to fix for like 10 years and still haven't fixed, which is the pipeline that you're describing. So my process is I take notes in my notebook, I type them up. Now, if you've done it for long enough, theoretically, you can have a template and just cut and paste, right? And then tweak some of the custom language. I export the PDF, I send them the PDF. They write back and say, okay, Josh, we want items 6, 9, and 14. Then we create a contract and export a PDF and send it through an online signature platform. And then we create a work order based on the contract, which goes to the crew. And it's so clear to me that there's so many softwares that would make this so streamlined. I've just failed repeatedly in actually getting one and integrating. So we still do it low tech. I'm curious what other people are doing.
Keith, Ryan?
Yeah, we're pretty low tech as well. We keep it pretty simple. We have a master budget template in Google Sheets with pretty much everything that we might use on a job. Fill that out and copy paste the master budget section into a Google Doc, which is for the proposal. Then we write out what we're going to do and then send that to them. There's a simple contract at the end of that. I tend not to spend more than a couple hours on those. So we're pretty streamlined.
I recommend going to the coffee shop after the consult, pulling out your computer and just making sure that you have all the copy, even if you have to sit with the numbers afterwards.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Keith? How long does it take you to write up that after visit summary, or is it a proposal that comes later?
It's a summary, and I use the two buttons, Control C and Control V, a lot. There's a lot of copy and paste. I mean, every yard is, yes, they're different, but a lot of yards are a lot of the same stuff going on. So you write a few good ones, maybe you have 7 or 8 templates, and it takes me about 10 minutes to write a consultation summary.
That's awesome. That's my goal. But I think once the more that you do, the more you have to copy and paste off of. You have to do it a few times.
I would add that I'm not doing any consultation follow-up unless they're going to pay me for something later.
Meaning
say
if
that
they've
again?
told you they're interested in moving forward, then you send them.
Yeah, there's not just like a document that we send people for free after a consultation, generally.
Oh,
So if they brought you out to discuss an installation, wouldn't you always have a proposal that you're sending them?
Right, but that includes a budget for that installation,
Right.
right?
So
I
how long
just
is
feel,
that together? That budget for that installation? I guess I'm not clear on what you're saying the difference is.
Well, it sounds like Keith and Josh are sending people consultation summaries after this consultation, right? So that's time at your desk after the consultation.
yeah.
We don't do that.
So how do they follow up and say they want you to come do a $10,000 install?
We explicitly talk about that at the consultation.
They make their decision in real time with you standing there?
Yes. So we ask them if they're interested in an install or a design. If they're interested in install, then we say, okay, we'll get you an install proposal. And then we go from there. And
Right.
yes, not every install proposal is accepted, but the vast majority are. This goes back to discussing budgets. So we have a really clear idea after before we leave their yard, what they're wanting.
So what I'm hearing you say, Ryan, is you leave let's assume they are interested in seeing the numbers for an install. You're like, yeah, what you're saying sounds good. We'd love to see a proposal. Then you go back, you make them proposal. That takes you no more than 2 hours. You use your reference sheets that you have for like project costs that you've built in that spreadsheet and send that on. If there's somebody else where the meeting kind of turns out to be more like a conversation and they're like, well, thanks for your time. This was kind of like a coaching visit. Goodbye. We're going to do this on our own. Then you go goodbye and you don't send them an after visit summary.
I either say goodbye or I say I will give you a concept design. And that's like a design I throw together in 15 minutes just to like give them, it's basically a visual notes from our consultation, where I'll say like, you can put some fruit trees here, you can put a garden here. There you go. Sometimes that comes back and they're like, can you give me a install proposal or a more full fleshed out design? And other times that's it. So
Cool.
So I want
I
to
think,
jump off of that real quick because
can I say one thing before you do? Can I
Oh,
say
sure.
one thing?
Okay.
I think from the beginning, being an anarchist and stuff, I really try to not make a sharp line between intellectual and manual labor. And I think that take the attitude that if someone's going to pay $100 or $200 or whatever it is to have you out for a consultation, almost 80 to 90% of them, in my experience, are going to do a job of some kind. Now, if they don't, for me, it's kind of like the consultation becomes something where it's going to spread the word. It's going to maybe inspire them later. We've had people come back to us 6-7 years later after a consultation. And I don't know that they would have if we never gave them anything. The people keep stuff around you wouldn't realize. So it's always planting a seed. And if we don't get a job out of it immediately in the short term, sometimes it comes back around later.
Great.
I'm really interested in growing. For me, what's most alive right now is I want to be selling consults for which I don't necessarily have an install available. Like consults to a broader market that I wouldn't necessarily be able to then install. And I'm really curious about like the value of a consult and if anyone's doing consults that they can't necessarily then implement.
Cool.
Do any of you guys do that? And can you imagine, right, coaching?
Yeah, I think for me, being like in the realm of permaculture, there's not a lot of people doing it. I've gone, pretty far distances, charged more money, spent more time with the person, sometimes been able to do like an on-site design.
Yeah.
That's usually a travel thing. And I think I mean, we've always been about DIY, helping people DIY, helping people, our inspiration really came from Food Not Bombs out in Oregon, Flores. And we sort of built she was sort of our inspiration, that organization. So we are about empowering people and giving them the tools to do these things themselves. A lot of the time people don't want that. People don't have, some people have more time than money. Other people have more money than time. People with more money than time, we're going to do an installation for them, but we want to meet other people where they're at. And so that's why we haven't raised that consultation price above $100, because they're still going to get something out of it, even if it's just that, hour-long conversation and the copy and paste summary. Mostly, it's not all copy and paste, but we definitely do specialized consultations and stuff. We're starting to move into the sort of market garden, farmscaping realm as well. And that's where I think that we can provide a lot of value, because a lot of organic farmers out there, they sort of took a whole different lane than we did as edible landscaping stuff, a whole different lane. And so there's gaps in both sides of the knowledge. And I think that we can provide them with a lot, especially around beneficial insects and, pollination, that they may have gaps in knowledge. And it's definitely worth the money, I think.
Yeah. That's great. Two things. Quick question, Ryan, would you be willing to share the custom foodscaping Google form that you guys used for basically that consultation, pre-consultation form that you have them fill out? Could we get that added later onto the documents under this presentation?
Sure.
All right, so you guys can look there for, under each presentation, there's a link to like the PDF of the slideshow, if there was a slideshow, and then any other supporting documents. So you can look there for that. And then, so Mike McCord, wondering if you guys are having some side chat on Jobber, using Jobber. And I think that's a really valuable resource, and would love if you wouldn't mind hopping on here and like sharing a little bit about how you use that tool. And yeah, weigh in on it.
Can you all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, we've been using Jobber since 2021. Before that, we were using a software called Yardbook. So Yardbook is kind of similar, somewhere, and it's free. So if you're looking for some just like baseline program to use that will allow you to store all of your client information and generate quotes and invoices and all that kind of in one place, check out that one. It's called Yardbook. But yeah, we kind of outgrew that and moved into Jobber. And there's a few other folks who are at this, Foodscaper Summit who also use Jobber. But basically it combines a lot of different tools that you might either be doing manually or using in like Sheets or Docs. So you are taking everything from the initial request that comes in. It's kind of like because there's a form that's basically a part of Jobber, and you can put it on your website. You can embed it in your website, and that request comes in. It gets into your CRM, which is your customer, your client relationship management tool, and that's where you store all of your client information, their address, any special notes about them. Their entire history with your company. It can actually all be stored in there, and it kind of turns into a request. And you take that request, and you can, basically they can book a time in your calendar directly through Jobber as well. You go out, you do your consultation, and then you convert that request into a quote, and that's all happening inside of Jobber. That quote can get approved and actually paid through Jobber as well, and then you can actually do the work and schedule the work and assign it to your crews. So you can actually do the whole scheduling side of the business inside of Jobber. There's like a calendar view. You can assign different staff to different jobs for certain hours. You can have checklists in there, all sorts of fun stuff. When that job is complete, you actually send the invoice through Jobber, you get that paid, and you close it out. So it's a very like comprehensive tool. Now, of course, it is like a paid subscription, but you know, it's been in the amount of labor saving. You know, it makes up, you know, in a couple of days. You know, it makes up for that value for like the whole monthly subscription. So
Yeah, what is that a month? Is it like around $30 a month or so?
there's different tiers to it. So you know, you can definitely start out kind of on the smaller side. There's the core version, which is looks like it's $42 a month. And that kind of is just for one user. But then once you want to start adding people, and it bumps up to $102 a month for up to 5 users. And then above that, it goes up to 210. And then it's like 210 for up to 15 users. And then for every user on top, it's a few dollars more per month. So I think, so at Community Foodscapes, we have 20 staff, and we're paying about $250 a month for that, but it's doing everything for us. You know, it's doing the lead, you know, the lead capture, the quotes, the invoicing, the jobs, the scheduling, yada yada. The timesheets are even in there. Time clock timesheets. It syncs up with QuickBooks.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So it's not its own accounting platform. You still need to integrate it with your accounting software.
Correct. You can do job costing in there. Like you can put in your individual job costs and your labor costs, so you can figure out like if your job is profitable or not. But it is not like an accounting software.
Pretty close though. I mean,
so
there's a lot besides that, but yeah, it does all the invoicing is really nice.
And I mean, it's not perfect. Like there's not like a perfect software out there. But in terms of like bang for the buck, I think it's totally worth it. And yeah, I do you know, I don't work for Jobber, but I do have a referral link. So if you are interested, you can feel free to reach out to me. And I can get you, I think it's 2 months free with that. So yeah.
I mean, if you want, you could put that in the chat or just put your email address or whatever in the chat. That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I just put my email in there. So yeah, and that, you know, anyone who's interested in learning more about it, you can message me through here, or you can email me. I'd be happy to go into the details or like all that stuff.
That's great. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
All right, let's see what else we have for the questions. Okay, so okay, how about this from Roxanne? How do you handle the unexpected issues? So you quote a price, but you get to the install and discover that the site is full of large rocks that weren't visible. Has that ever happened to you, Keith?
Well,
this a while.
Yeah, in different ways. I mean, change order is definitely, you know, the go-to move there. I think that for us, one of the things that can really change the cost is like the soil type, because we do a lot of our stuff with BCS. We don't do really raised bed stuff. We're just mostly doing landscaping. So we're in a lot of the soil, doing a lot of food forest stuff, and we have Ulta soils here, so it's really dense clay. So we always check that on that initial consultation and make sure, try to do the see the dangers before they're there. One of the biggest things that we literally run into that is horrible is the internet lines. Even when they're marked, and they've gone to a policy here now. I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but even if you call 811, it's 2 inches below the ground. If you hit it, it's $500 automatically. So those are kind of the things that we're looking out for. And then also just getting people to sign the estimates. It's a big one. so that if you ever do, need to go down the line for something we want you to be liable for, that's going to stand up in the court. Yeah, sometimes with rain gardens too, because we got to get down 18, 20 inches. So you got to kind of overestimate. And if it takes less time, sometimes we'll take some money off the bill. But a lot of times it just is what it is. It's like estimate and estimate again, go 40, make an estimate and go 40% higher. If you end up lower than that, then everyone's happy.
Yep. You mentioned making sure that you check the type of soil that you have on site there while you're at the consultation. Someone else asked a question along the way. Is there anything else you guys would add to that? Things that you walked away from the consultation and then you're like, crap, I wish I would have gathered this information or that information. Something that either still happens to you now or maybe, kind of like as an easier miss for newbies.
Yeah, so bring a shovel. That's a tool that I didn't mention earlier. Always have a shovel so you can dig around, and generally you'll know if it's rocky or not. So that's not going to be a thing that you run into too often. Something that keeps messing us up, especially on bigger like rain gardens, when we usually will dig with machines if it's a big enough project, is irrigation. So you got to ask the client if they have an irrigation system. And for large enough projects, we've started putting a line in the proposal that says we are not responsible for broken irrigation, because we've lost so much time and money, just completely lost our butts on a couple big installs because we had to fix irrigation that we broke, which shouldn't actually be our responsibility because we're not the irrigation company and they could do it a lot faster. And in one of these instances, the irrigation company came out before we did the install and was supposed to move the irrigation out of our way, and they didn't. So I think clear communication with the client is always going to win the day. And I've had a couple jobs that unexpected things went over budget, and I just talked to the client and they were like, I get it. We're talking about working with other contractors, so often in that kitchen remodel or that bathroom remodel, they'll give you a quote, but it's going to go over, and they're going to tell you about that, and you're going to say okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
what do you have with those remodelers?
mm-hmm.
Molly, you mentioned that you do preliminary soil research on the soil web survey when you can. She put that link in the chat, and I think that's a really valuable resource along with do you guys ever use like the county GIS for gathering data before you go into a consultation? Curious about that. You can get some soil information
Off of what? I've been trying to figure that out because I want to offer virtual consults. So I need the GIS info and I don't know how to access it. How do you guys access it?
USGS.
Yeah, just Google the county name, GIS, and then each county has its own kind of system, and some of them are easier to use than others, and some will have better data than others. Like the Google Earth Pro, if you download that, will also have soil profiles that you can look up.
I'll put a plug in for a software called Equator. I think it's $30 a month. And while all of the LiDAR data is what you're kind of accessing, it is generally open and available to find. But this is an app that kind of aggregates all of it and makes it super easy to find and download. So you can get contour lines as dense as you want, so up to like 1 foot contour lines.
You said it was called Equator?
Equator, yeah, that's how I use.
.com or?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Pretty awesome.
Too.
And you can put all kinds of different layers on your maps. It's pretty sweet. Check it out.
Yeah. All right. So
wait, I have one thing to say about that. I'm not sure how many people take pictures, but that's the one thing that I will sometimes forget and kick myself for. it's really great to take pictures because, like a lot of you have been saying, you never know when they're going to get back to you 3 weeks later and be like, "Oh, my mom gave me some money and I want to do this thing," and then you're like, "Oh man, how bad was it?" What had to happen there? And if you can go back to the picture and be like, "Oh, right, there's that puddle over there," then that really helps.
More pictures.
Pictures and videos.
Yeah.
Videos.
Okay, we're going to talk about maintenance plans a little bit here. So, this question comes from Tony. I find my clients call often, and the design process is iterative as things come up, troubleshooting problems, strategy for obtaining permits, etc. Wait, I lost the question in that. Tony, why don't you jump on and elaborate? I don't know the last name. Toni. If they're available.
Hi, yes, I'm available. Thank you.
Yes.
So yes, I have some clients, but they don't have a budget, right? It's a nonprofit, so they're trying to do as much as they can for free and as much as they can themselves. And we're designing pretty much without a budget, and they're calling all the time, and it's been 4 or 5 months now. And I'm just thinking, if I've got a paying client, how am I going to manage them? Because it is a long process. It's not, and this is, some acres property. It's not just a residence. So just the ongoing maintenance process, if you guys have done one.
Specifically, are you looking for some insight for large properties
Right.
like acreage?
Right.
I
And
know.
are we
custom
talking about
landscaping
landscapes or are we talking about gardens?
Talking about permaculture design.
Mhm. Ryan, didn't you guys just kind
Foodscaping,
of
of
delve
course,
into that
involved.
sorry, I'm over talking, Tony. I'm sorry. I was just thinking I saw a project come this summer with Custom Foodscaping working with a large, like a more acreage, like permaculture farm, right?
Mhm.
What did you do to set forward expectations and boundaries for what that client relationship looks like throughout that design process, since it's so much space and so many things can change, and so that they're not constantly needling you with the questions and all that kind of stuff?
I'm not sure how to answer that actually. I think that goes to my previous comment about client communication. We were in contact a lot. The design was for the whole property, which was 15 acres, but it was also more conceptual than exact. It wasn't a construction document, so we changed a lot of things on the install dates. Is that the question? Does that answer the question?
Can you articulate the question a little bit more concretely?
Yeah, I'll say that it doesn't bother me when the client's calling. I want them to call. So I think if we're just charging hourly, that could be, resolving the issue. But it's just been an ongoing iterative process. And I'm thinking, if I've got lots of clients and calling, my technology clients did the same thing. They called all the time. But it seems like you guys are doing just like a quote and then you do your work and then it's kind of done.
Mhm.
But
Can I ask what they're calling about?
Everything. I've got gophers. It's raining and everything's leaking. My truck is stuck. How can I get out?
Yikes.
What am I going to do with all these invasive weeds? I've got a thing eroding. It's blocking the road. All kinds of delicious problems.
It might not make a difference at this point for you, but when we've done bigger scale community projects, doing a design charrette where you bring in everybody in the room and they're breaking into groups and everyone's sort of like coming up with their own concepts. And then, we as the company are kind of filtering it all and making it into one big design. That has worked really well, and it kind of gets the buy-in and also gets you off the hook from the longer process things that, community work is messy. It's always going to be. So the more you can streamline it and sort of like share the burden with the people that are involved in it the most, that can sometimes maybe nip that in the bud.
Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to get rid of the responsibility or pass them off to anyone else. I'm involved. Just want to make sure and manage the money and the expectation there and the billing. And if there's like if you guys have done like a standard maintenance plan with a monthly charge or something like that, monthly, annual.
Yeah, only for people who ask for it, and we have a contract for that too.
Yeah, what I hear you saying, Tony, is that there's like you guys need to have a DTR or something, right? Like define the relationship. What have they paid for and what did they get for that? And then if you're having a lot of clients like that because of the work you're doing, then maybe you do create a package that says you know, we are available by phone and email to like answer your ongoing questions, and it's kind of like a subscription fee, and you're going to have to pay monthly for that. Because if every one of your clients always thinks that you're like on their speed dial to deal with all their problems, then that's not sustainable, right? So yeah, that sounds hard, but it sounds like, you know, what these guys are saying too is that they have contracts for that and maintenance programs for that, and come up with what your client needs and then make sure that they're paying for it.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm used to in technology. That's how I always made my money, was during emergencies. That's how I got new clients, because I would answer 24/7 if there's an outage. You know, no one else is answering non-business hours.
Sounds like you
And
can
I would,
apply that. I bet you that's more
yeah,
applicable to this than you might have previously have
right,
thought. Yeah,
right.
that's great. Thanks for clarifying all that. I think that's a good thing to be thinking about and preparing ahead of time so you don't have to define the relationship on the back end. All right, so I have another question here. Oh, we already did that one. I'm gonna click that one off. Let me reorient for a second. Okay, so here's a good question. Gina, how do you all feel about free discovery calls? So she says, I offer them, but as of late, I am wondering if I should cut them based on many clients keeping me on the phone longer than scheduled, or having a call and they're acting like they are all in and then ghost me after I email them a follow-up. So some companies offer, you know, before you even come up for a consultation, just like this discovery call, you can chat with me on the phone for a little bit to see if we want to go to the next step. What do you guys think about that experience or thoughts?
I'm happy. I very rarely get it, because mostly the way people reach out to us is through our website, and then, you know, their option is to either email or schedule the consult. And if you reach out to me, I'll tell you that we start working with new customers at the initial consult, so go ahead and book it. But every once in a while, someone calls and says, you know, I want to schedule the consult, but I'm not sure exactly if you're the right fit for us. And whatever. If there's a complicating factor and I can resolve it and either save us both some time and a 15-minute phone call, then I'll just say, great, let's schedule a phone call. But it's not like something we offer regularly, or that I, you know, would sit there for hours talking about what kind of carrots to grow, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Other thoughts? Do you guys do discovery calls in custom foodscaping or Bountiful backyards?
No, my answer would be the same as Josh's, pretty much. There's no phone numbers on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have a phone, but we tend to only get like Nigerian princes and you know, other types like that calling us on there.
All right, good answer. Okay, do any of you use any sort of GPS measurement tool?
You know what, I'm
Your
curious.
phone, where you can just click out the shape of the landscape with the app, or the shape of the beds or anything like that.
Have you guys seen that thing that Malaysia or something, they're always advertising?
That's what was mentioned here. Daniel brought this up. He said
Does anyone have it? It seems like an awesome thing. I just don't really do tech gadgets so much.
Yeah, does anyone have that?
I think one of our, hey, Gabriel, can you unmute yourself and speak to this real quick?
Yeah, one of our previous designers had it, in thinking that would really help them capture all the information needed to leave, like especially a raised bed install. It's good for generalities, like in terms of dimensions, feet, slope, feet. Don't count on it for inches. And it is a little more difficult to use and implement, like in its transfer to the digital format on your screen, than is portrayed, was our takeaway from that.
Yeah. only works if you're using a GIS, like an AutoCAD, right? You have to have a design software that you can import into.
I mean, 10 minutes of analog, I've got everything that I need for like a raised bed install. It's so fast.
Yeah. When I teach my community college class, permaculture, we spend like 15 minutes doing base maps. It can be so simple. And I can get a base map at this point in 10 to 15 minutes. So I like walking around, kind of seeing what's there, feeling what the soil is like. So yeah, all analog, maybe.
Wait, what? How do you get that base map in 15 minutes? You walk it and transfer it with a pen, or you download a GIS map?
Oh, I have a measuring tape and a pen and graph paper, and I have me and one other person. He reads the numbers out to me, and we're done.
Huh.
Unless it's really big. I mean, yeah, a bigger one maybe will take 30 or 40 minutes, but if it's a regular residential house, I mean, it's you're measuring the house and you're measuring the boundaries.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Do you get into any trouble, Keith? I'll ask a follow-up question, then make sure you get to the right. Do you have do you just take the general footprint of the house, or are you measuring like in all the notches and the window wells and the utilities and the way the sidewalk goes and then the little space of land? You know what I mean? Like, are you doing all those?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not exactly where the windows and stuff are, but yeah, where steps are, where sidewalks, where driveways. Mm-hmm. Yep. It doesn't have to be complicated. I think in permaculture classes and stuff, they make it so overly complicated to get a base map that it's really simplify it. You know, it's a footprint of the house and then the boundaries that surround you and the geographical features, whatever it is, HVAC system, gutters. We're always looking at gutters, how much impervious,
trees,
where the door is, trees. Yep.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Ryan, when I cut you off?
Oh, just that there's some context there too. Most high level measurements you can just get from your base map off of Google Earth. And if you need specific measurements, it's for like a garden space that is abutting a patio or in a contained space, which is easy enough to pull a tape measure on and get really specific, Yeah.
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, so get in any of your last burning questions. I have a few more here. All right. So I don't know who asked this question, but generally speaking, is there more profit in design time per hour of effort than labor install time per hour of effort? And maybe whoever wrote this can come on and elaborate. He or she says, I want to create a DIY install so more people can eat and be secure. Should be as one person. I don't know. There's a little bit of like typo or something, so I can't quite understand it. So does whoever that is want to come in? Tell us, but elaborate the question. I don't know the name.
Because it says Zoom user?
Well, I'm looking at a different flow than the chat. I could find it in the chat, but so it should be. Okay, well, then if that person isn't here to clarify the question, then I guess I'll just move to the next one. Elise asks, what photos are you taking when you're, so that's kind of back to a conversation we were having earlier, but tell us what you're making sure you get a pic on the camera before you leave that consultation.
Try to get major trees, where the water spigot is, located. I find that I look at my videos. I take a very extensive walkthrough video. So like Josh, I carry a notebook, but it's mostly for decoration to make me look official because all of my notes go into videos where I'm just walking around narrating, like pay attention to this, pay attention to that. which I can just reference as much as I need to.
Mhm.
I got you.
I've even used a combination of what you said, Keith, where you said you have another person with you and you read off the measurements to them and they write it down. I've just taken a video of myself, like with the wheel, the measuring wheel, walking around, and then just
Mhm.
put it down on paper later or put it straight to the computer. Videos are helpful. Anything else that you guys make sure you get back to your desk and you're like, damn, I forgot to take a picture of.
Still happens.
Yep.
Just take more than you think you need.
Google
Yeah.
Space is cheap.
Okay, I have a question for you. Because this will be a fun way to like end it's only 2 minutes left, or we have 7 minutes left. Have you been in a consultation where the person just can't stop talking and the time is going on and on and on and you don't know how you'll ever get out? Have you gotten stuck in there before? And I don't know. It's an interpersonal question, so you may not have an answer, but would love to hear an anecdote or if you have like a strategy for protecting your time and making sure things don't go too long.
I definitely have, although in general, if they've made space for me to share what I want to share, then I'm generally happy to listen to them ramble until it hits the 1.5 hour mark, and then you say like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I got to get to my next appointment. I mean, but I do want to say, and on that, do people give you fun stuff on consults? Because I got the funnest stuff. Like I get homemade jam, and I get pumpkins, and I get watercolors, and I get like stuff that people are like, oh, I want to give you this thing. And then I'm always like, oh, she's sure gonna hire us. And then they
It was just a guilty gesture.
right.
Oh, funny. Anyone else want to weigh in on that one?
Just kind of slowly back away towards the screen.
So they're talking to themselves.
Oh my gosh.
I had this guy who was he actually ran this huge job that we did town Cary here. It's a pretty big town, and man could not get away from him. And it was at this big water treatment facility, and he kept talking to me, and I started like walking up to my truck, and okay, I gotta go. And he walked me all the way up to my truck, and then we sat there at the door and kept talking. And so I texted my wife and I just said, call me. And then that's a good one, because then the phone rings. Oh man, sorry, I gotta go.
The baby's being born, I have to go.
Yeah, or whatever. Or I'm having a heart attack, like, leave me alone.
Hey, has anyone ever gotten stiffed or felt uncomfortable on a consult?
Like I need to get away for other reasons.
Like this person is like not making me feel safe or has an agenda that I don't have or something.
Luckily not for me.
I can chime in on that a little bit, if that's okay.
Please.
Brand new, but and I will caveat, I am very fortunate in this incident because my wife is a psychotherapist. So I had to consult with her. So over the years, I've heard a little bit about different like personality disorders and sort of issues you can encounter. So this one person, I got referred by these other contractors and it went over and it was a little bit confusing what the situation, what they were looking for anyway. They were trying to get a grant. I met with this client. House was a nightmare. The backyard was every invasive species you can imagine on top of each other, rubble. And then the client kept talking about how they, really didn't have any money. So this is also like early person mistake. I was like, oh, I want to help this person. And then they started drawing me in and telling me how all these other contractors are so terrible and they really only like me because I'm so special. And they were texting me a lot, calling me a lot. I couldn't figure out, I was trying to nail, are you looking for a rain garden? Could not nail down what they wanted. And then the last straw fight, and I was noticing I had a lot of stress. I was like noticing psychological red flags. The final straw was they threw a different contractor under the bus, who's, in my opinion, like the best landscaper in our community. they told me about this explosive incident with that person, that person wouldn't work with them. So anyway, I had to consult with my wife and told her all this, and she was like, red flag, red, like this person has psychological instability.
It's not them, it's not you, it's
Get out
them.
while, because they're the kind of person that will sue you, give you terrible Google reviews, like tank things. So the coaching was basically I via email sent something, and thank God I wasn't in contract or anything yet, and just said, this is actually not going to be a good fit, but I wish you all the best. And then anticipated a bunch of, so my phone starts blowing up. I did one other thing, you know, as I said, just not a good fit, and then had to just start like blocking and deleting. So has that happened to other people? I like this happened right out of the gate. So I was like, am I attracting these people?
No.
Like, does that
I think everybody needs one or two experiences of the different personality types, and then you're like, okay, now I know this happens, and then you pick them out the next time and you head it off. Like the long talker, it's like, okay, yeah, I can tell this person is going to talk my ear off, so I'm on my agenda of we're going to talk about this, and now goodbye. And then the crazy person is like, okay, yep, gosh, we don't even actually do that, or yeah, oh, we don't even know how to do that. I'm sorry, I won't charge you. Bye. You know, like I've completely just undersold myself before with the crazy person, because I'm like, yeah, you don't want to hire me. You really don't want me. Just get out. Yeah, you're not alone though. People are weird. Yeah, go Keith, and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead.
I would just say also keep an open mind, because one of the best clients we've ever had went to her place, and it looked like a bomb had hit it. There was like 9 abandoned cars in the yard, chickens everywhere, every kind of bird imaginable, bird shit everywhere. We sat down on her step, and there was like an aroma of urine, and I was just like everything was a wreck. And this person ended up spending like almost 30 grand. So I don't know, trust fund or whatever, but I mean, I kept an open mind, and I didn't, didn't write her off, even though I kind of wanted to. It was a crazy situation.
Wow.
Before you close, I just wanted to say I love doing consults. Like I think that together with the occasional loony and whatever ghosting, the opportunity to connect with people and bring this work that we're all passionate about to them and see their eyes open with excitement is like, I mean, I definitely think that's what I'm here for, more so than necessarily digging the ditches or like, making the spreadsheets line up. So I did just want to put in a plug for it.
That's a great note to end on, Josh. Thanks. It's really good. Well, this is the kind of the end of our schedule today, except for the happy hour. So the link should be down there in your chat, so you can hop on over and connect in our live unmoderated room. So I'm gonna head over there, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, everybody.